Metro League High School football is back.
You take us off to the races. He could go all the way. He could go.
It's the return of Metro League High School football, Friday and Saturday nights on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Makes a stutter step inside, breaks a tackle. He's on the run. He's going to take it all the way. He's going to take it all the way on the sideline.
Exciting Metro League football live on Rainier Avenue Radio World. It's back.
Hello, listener. What's important to you about what's going on in your community? Are you interested? Are you concerned? In any case, I invite you to tune into my show, Seattle Here and Now, on Rainier Avenue Radio World. Why? I will be covering a wide range of topics important to you and impacting the community. Each show will have a special guest or guests to share with you information on a variety of subjects that are happening here and now in Seattle. I promise I will work hard to make my show informative, interesting, and entertaining. Be sure to listen to Seattle Here and Now on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Kind of nonsense conversation are we having here?
The Neon Ghost Show. The Neon Ghost Show. Right here on Rainier what's it? Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Right about now.
Rainier Avenue Radio World. I'm so tired. I have to pee.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did You Know?
COVID vaccine is free. If you don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine, vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did You Know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did You Know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did You Know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did You Know?
Rainier Avenue Radio. Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to Clean Greens Living Live, broadcasted on Rainier Avenue Radio. It is your host, Queen Bree and Robyn T. How's it going, Robyn?
Hi, Queen Bree. It's going really well. I am happy to be here on Clean Greens Living Live. We have a great show. As always, we're coming to you from Seattle, Washington. That is Duwamish territory. You can learn more or support at realrentduwamish.org. And our favorite theme music is created by Carrie Williams, aka Cuddy Fresh. And we have a big exciting show and lots to get into. So you want to tell us about it, Queen Bree?
Well, yes, but before we start, don't forget November 16th, 6 p.m. we are having our harvest dinner. This is our annual harvest fundraising dinner for Clean Greens. We would love it if you guys can join us. We would love it if you all can donate and help us keep the mission to feeding and educating our people and our community going. So don't forget to join us. We will be having a sit-down conversation with Doug Baldwin. I cannot wait. We'll be talking about Clean Greens, what we've done, and how we can continue to help and support our community.
You say Doug Baldwin?
Oh, I said Doug Baldwin. And you know what? Tickets are such a good price for Doug Baldwin to be here. I mean, he not only helped lead us to a Super Bowl, he is an amazing ex-football player and an amazing community leader inside this community. So you guys should come. Tickets are $25. Just flip my pencil. Tickets are $25 until October 31st. And after that, it will be, tickets are $25 to October 31st. After that, $35. You can join us online if you still feel weird about COVID. So you can pay online for tickets. It's $10. And if you can't make it, don't hesitate to donate. We are accepting all kinds of help with donations and or volunteering. Did I cover that?
That's great. Yeah, there's so many reasons to come to our harvest dinner besides just Queen Brie, Robyn T, and Doug Baldwin. So many reasons to come. We'll keep telling you all about it. Please find us on our website, or you can email us. So that's cleangreensfarmmarket.com. You can go to our social media, pop into the DMs, tell us you want to come. We can email you if you give us your email on the website. So many ways to reach us. You can even call on the radio show.
Oh yeah, call the radio show. And don't forget to get the tickets. It's Clean Greens Events, right? Events, Clean Greens.
Clean Greens Events. Clean Greens Events at Gmail.
Yes, that is where you can get the tickets. Look, we moving on up like the Jeffersons. Come join us. All right. So like we talked about last month, this is the month of domestic violence. It's a domestic violence awareness month. I can't even talk. What is going on? I was just so excited about the Harvest Dinner. We are in domestic violence month, and we have with us, joining us today, Jatana Ball. Jatana has a BA in Human Services. She has worked in the domestic violence field for over 10 years. She's worked in South King County area and has worked with survivors and their children with housing, legal information, community support. She has led support groups and trainings and also for domestic violence. And she currently works for a nonprofit organization who is up and coming as a domestic violence program manager. Oh, shoot, girl. She about to be the program manager. Okay, well, let's bring on Jatana. Congratulations. We can't hear you. You on mute?
Hello.
Hi. Is that what I'll be looking like when I'll be trying to do the introductory?
Hi, Jatana.
Hey, Robyn T. How are you?
I am so great. So happy to have you here. Jatana knows so much about this and has so much experience. So we're really happy to talk to you today.
Yes, we're so excited. You look good. Okay.
Thank you. I don't have my glasses, so I feel like I'm like squinching my face up, but thank you.
We got to read the questions. We'll just ask them to you. Just sit there and look sexy.
Okay.
But no, seriously. Okay. So domestic violence awareness month started in 1987. I did a little research, just a tiny bit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It started in 1987 to bring awareness to the issue of domestic violence and to connect communities in order to be able to help those in a domestic violence situation.
Yes.
Right. And so me and Robyn were talking a little earlier. We always like to get together and brainstorm the story. I mean, just talk before we start the show. And she watched a show on Netflix.
Yes.
And so we were talking a little bit. One, I haven't watched it yet because just watching a trailer, it was like a trigger. I knew it was going to trigger me. So I haven't. Hey, Deontay. We always love it when Deontay pops in and say hey to us. So I haven't watched it yet because I knew it was going to be a trigger and I just wasn't ready. But Robyn watched it. And one of the things we talked about is that sometimes DV doesn't look like what we think we look like. And that movie got a conversation about, Robyn, I guess you could tell it. It's your story. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. Thank you. I saw someone post saying it wasn't a good description of abuse. And I'm like, it actually was a good description of abuse. There wasn't a bunch of physical violence is the reason. And it was triggering. So watch out when you go watch it if you've been in a situation of emotional abuse. And I have taken a training with Jatana before. And I learned so much. And it is extremely validating to know that we don't need to minimize our experience. And we would just like to hear from you about the different types of abuse or domestic violence or situations people can find themselves in.
Yes. So shout out to Netflix. Yes, I watched the movie. It was kind of like deep. Especially working in the field of DV, I could see the avenues where the survivor had went to, her not thinking she had DV, and then her later understanding what DV was, and then identifying with that, so that Netflix did a really good job to surface level talk about DV. So I can depict that, and it was from Washington, so
yeah, it's local.
Yes,
the name of the show is Made.
I know,
Made.
Yes, it's
Made.
made.
That's how made. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm gonna check it
It
out.
is deep, and be mindful. It can bring up some triggers, but it's also very like learning different systems and names for different things survivors go through. So thank you for having me, ladies. I feel very blessed. I've worked with both of you two in the past, so thank you. So the types of the type of abuse, right? So physical is what everyone thinks DV is, and which that is like very surface level of DV. That's very like, yeah, he hits me, yeah, she hits me, I'm in an abusive relationship. But the stuff that people don't talk about and don't really identify as it being in a domestic violence is the psychological, the financial, the children, the cultural, the spiritual, the emotional abuse around DV, which is the bigger idea of what DV is, right? So the physical, the punching, the kicking, but the psychological, the name calling, the putting me downs, the you're stupid, nobody's gonna want to be with you, the financial abuse. She or he may be the only one working. And then that other person taking control over the finances, or that person being able to only work, and that survivor victim not being able to work, right? So they're keeping that person stuck in that situation. Children, a woman may continue to get pregnant and not be able to leave because she believes she can't, take care of her kids without this person. When times of visit exchange, she got out the relationship, now the kids are still there. At times of drop off, he's, using the children. If I'm not with you, then I'm not going to be a father or mother, so using the children to stay, or using the children even after they're left the relationship, but to like, can you see me? Something happened to, there you go. To use the children as like a leverage. And then cultural, different religions, different spiritual beliefs get it, help. They keep people stuck in a relationship because they feel like, this is the way we're supposed to do it. This is what our religion taught us to do it. And a big one that people are becoming more aware of now is chemical dependency, right? Their abuser may be the provider of the drug or the substance, and then them needing to get high, so they stay in that relationship, right? And so that's a big one too, that I feel like with all the addiction becoming heightened, you'll realize how many people are in a DV relationship stemmed off of substance abuse. So that's like the different types. And then I wanted to talk about the red flags. I don't know if you ladies have been seeing, though, a lot in the media, they've been talking about red flags, right? Mm-hmm. The different things that we can identify as a red flag, but maybe not know. And sometimes they're cute, right? Sometimes red flags may seem like this person is showing me some attention and I like it. And so helping people understand that this red flag may be a sign, but also, and be mindful that it can be, lead to a DV relationship. Am I going too fast?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I was, and so when we talk about DV and all the things, I mean, if anybody has any questions about the different types of DVs that she just talked about, I know when I was in a training with you one time, people had a real issue with the spiritual one.
Yes.
Because everybody, because in especially in my culture, I've battled this conversation. It was never like stay in an abusive relationship, but it was always like, once you're married, you should stay married. And there's only certain reasons why you can get married and all this stuff. But as I got older and was able to read the word for myself, I understood its gravity. So I'm not saying this is my religion, but for some people, they do use religion to keep you in that stronghold with that person by saying those things and saying the church will turn their back on you. God will.
They have, a lot of times the community have turned their back, and a lot of like small communities, who can they turn to help, right? Like if the person that's supposed, even like say tribes, right? You go to the person on the tribe for support, and that might be your abuser's cousin, right? And so then it's like, oh, she's trying to leave. And so, the communities are so small. So it's like some people have to lose their whole community to get some support. And they have, and they're okay with it. And because it's like, say I'm in a, small community and Breon's my advocate I go to for help, but that might be my abuser's husband, best friend, right? And so she goes and tells her husband, And then, I'm looked at as a bad person. And so it's either I lose my whole community to get help or I stay because my community is all I have.
Yeah, I've experienced that when I was a case manager. People were scared to tell their story because they were scared that their cousins, uncles, babies, moms, or somebody worked in the community. And that leads me that we talked about how people always be like, why don't you just leave? Can you explain to people why someone in a domestic violence wouldn't just leave?
Right. So number one, safety, especially in the high DV. Usually if it's a really bad DV, the only way to leave is suicide or homicide, right? So sometimes people say it's better for me to stay in this relationship because I might die, right? My kids might not have a mom or a dad. Another reason she won't leave, I don't have any income. I've never went to school. I only have my GED. This person financially provided for me for the last 15 years. I don't have anything. My family doesn't believe me anymore. My family won't support me. My family's across the country, right? So she stays because this person is the only person that she has. She stays because of the emotional abuse. No one's going to like you. No one's going to think you're pretty. No one's, she might have black eyes and bruises. No one's going to want to believe, no one wants to be with you. No one's going to believe you. So she stays. And also we know, like, even in Washington, the cost of living, the job market is so very expensive. And to get into a DV shelter, it's really hard because it's not like your average homeless shelter where they have 150 beds, right? DV shelters typically have, I would say, anywhere between 5 and 15, maybe 20 beds. And people stay a lot longer. They're not like you go home in the morning, you leave in the morning and you may not come back. It's more like you come in and you have up to 30, 60, 90 days for your next spot. So it's really hard to get into one of those places. So if a woman leaves, she's calling, trying to get into shelter. She's trying to stay at her friend's house. He may come by her friend's house. Her friend's like, hey, you can't stay here no more. This is jeopardizing my safety. So she goes to grandma's house. She's trying to get in shelter. She's trying to get on TANF and housing. And it's like, I might as well go back home because couch surfing is not safe for my kids. I'm afraid that he's going to hurt me. And so at least if I go home, my kids have a place to live. The school won't be called because they're going to school every day. So those are all reasons she stays.
And another thing is that some shelters, if you have little boys and they're a certain age, they can't stay in the shelter with you, right?
Right. I don't know how much that is as of now, especially a lot of shelters have gone to like individual units. And some of them understand that my 13-year-old may not look like your 13-year-old, right? And which it used to be, some of them used to be like 13, and that because some 13-year-olds look like 17-year-old men, and another woman walk onto the floor and she may be triggered by this older person, right? And so they have gotten, I don't know, I haven't worked in a shelter in a while, but I know they were moving like out of that because it's kind of discriminating, right?
No.
Right. And so I don't know exactly, but that was a very big issue when I was in shelter.
I'm so curious why it is so. Why we didn't discuss talking about this with Breon, but it makes me wonder, like, why there isn't more legislation in place to like create like systems of support. I know there's like many different crises going on in this city and in this country, but it's like it is extremely hard for someone to leave, first of all, after the psychological damage you mentioned, but then where and how, how do you do all the things at once to get that support when there's not a lot of shelters? So is there anything going on to change that?
I think DV is the more we talk about it, the more knowledge is becoming not so ostracized. So the community, like the shelters, there was only so many because it's like, how many people identify as being a survivor of DV, right? Or an abusive relationship. And so the more we talk about it, the more laws get passed, the more there's awareness, the more that there's support. But like I said, a lot of support is more financial, like, hey, this woman needs this, this, and this. Let's give her that financial support so that she can have this, right? And so they're seeing that this kind of meeting with the survivor where they're at. But, Yeah, so I don't know how we need tons and tons of secret shelters, but ideally, yeah.
Well, I guess something like this, we're talking about it here.
Right, we're talking about it. We're bringing awareness to it, but policies around shelters and, it can be a person sharing 2 of their bedrooms, giving it to the police, because sometimes at those moments, it's like a live or death situation.
Cash is good. Give them money.
Cash is good. Donate. And like you're hearing us, like get out there and talk to your legislators. But I mean, I'm not going to go too deep in it, but sometimes half the abusers be in those.
Yes, they're everywhere. There are police officers that come to the house when the woman calls or the guy calls, and sometimes it's the military. You're on a base and you're stuck because the military is abusive. They're abusing their power. This person, of course, they don't want to tell on their fellow military officer, right? So the people making laws, there's abusers in abusers don't discriminate. They're not an income level. There's not a classes level. They're everywhere. And so sometimes they're in the laws. Our country is ran off of power and control, which is what DV is, ran off of power and control.
Oh, can you say that one more time? That DV
power and control. That is what domestic violence is.
Power and control.
Yes.
Power and control, and it's not economical level. Anybody can be having domestic violence. We typically think it's some regular, what do we call it? Because there is no more middle class people, because middle class is considered poor these days.
It seems like, I would say, domestic violence, it looks different in a lower class income family versus someone who has more financial, right? But it's the same thing, and it's all stems off of power and control. One person using their power to control the person. And like the simplest form of it is, if you're in a healthy relationship, and I would say in a relationship anyway, whether it's kids, mom and kids, partner, woman, female to female, male to male, and one person uses whatever their power is and uses it to control the other person, and that's when it becomes a domestic violence situation. So say I'm in a relationship with Bree, I have a car, right? And you have the job. So if I say, hey, I got the car, I'll take you to work, let's do this. I got the kids, I'll drop them off and you go to work and I'll stay at home. So if it becomes, well, I don't want you to go to work, I want you to stay home with me. No, I'm not going to take you to work, right? No, I don't want you to be working. I want you to stay at home. So then I'm controlling your finances, right? I'm controlling your ability to leave because I'm using my power, which is the car, to control how you get around, right? So I'm like keeping you stuck in that sense, right? So like, no, you can't go nowhere, or I'm making you late for work because I don't want you to leave. Or I'm the one that's working. So no, I'm not going to give you no money to take care of yourself, but you're also at home taking care of the kids. And yes, I'm making sure the food is, there's the bills are taken care of, but I'm not taking care of you. And so I'm using my power, which is income, and keeping and controlling you by not giving you anything to leave or to even take care of yourself. If you kind of get that, it's like it's bigger than that, but that's the idea. Like if I have my power, but I'm using it to control you.
Yeah.
And not help you.
You making sense, girl. How can family and friends help someone who is in a situation, right, that is experiencing?
Believe them. With COVID, we lost a lot of connection, right? We just stopped connecting. So connect, phone calls, check-ins. We always say, oh, girl, if you don't leave this time, I'm done with you, right? Don't be done with her. Give her resources. Give her the 1-800, because sometimes it takes up to 7 times for that person to leave. So don't not believe them. Do not let them fall by the wayside, right? Trust them. Give them encouragement. You got this. I can help you. Call. I can, I know it's not going to be easy. I know you might not feel safe, but have an understanding, compassion, become human contact, and be compassionate and trust that it's unhealthy if she especially comes to you, and don't judge and don't ask her why she stays, but know why she stays, and ask her, instead of saying, why don't you leave, say, I know it's hard for you to leave. This, and this you don't have, and this, and this is what you need, right? I know it may not be safe for you to leave right now, but here's some tools to keep you safe while you're at home. Like, hey, if you're arguing with your abuser, take the garbage out so you can get outside, cool down, right? Hey, if you're arguing, don't go in the kitchen where there's access to knives. So give her tools on how to stay safe in that unhealthy relationship. Keep your ID and your kid's birth certificate somewhere at your parents' house or a friend's house, right? In case you do decide to leave, save some money so when you're ready to leave, you have access to leave. Keep a extra bag of clothes in the trunk, take the garbage out, get in the car and leave, right? Have a code word for your kids, bring the box of Cheez-Its, right? So help her safety plan while she's preparing to leave, after she leaves, and continuing.
Can you explain to them? I'm glad you said that. Can you explain to everybody what is a safety plan and what do they do with that?
A safety plan is what you have in place in the relationship, after relationship, and everything. It's something that I have a safety plan whenever I'm with my kids, right? Like, there's a bathroom, here's the exit. When I say go, don't ask no questions, go. So it's something you have in place in case of an emergency, right? So a safety plan can be code words for kids. Like when I tell my oldest, you might say, John, when I tell you this means go get your brothers and sisters and go across the street to your neighbor's houses. Like, John, you remember that scary movie? And he knows to not say nothing, but take the kids and call 911, right? Mm-hmm. It's like I said, taking the garbage out when he's becoming vital, taking the garbage out, knowing so you can have an exit, a way to leave. Having a safety person that you can trust, to leave. When you're driving in the car, make sure you're watching behind you after you leave. You can't go to your grandma's house because he knows where your grandma lives, but he doesn't know where this person lives. So having those things in place before you leave, after you leave, and then continuously throughout. And it's something that, as an advocate, our safety plan, even when I go to meet survivors, right? I'm like, hey, how'd you get here? I leave later, watch her get in the car, watch myself leave. Like I said, I go into a new foreign place I've never been in. I look for the bathroom and all the exits so that in case of emergency, no matter what it may be, I know how to exit.
These are such good tips. I had not even thought of so many of them. And I remember one of my friends preparing to try to leave and many times and she wasn't able to. And she was getting her ducks in a row, but she's good at that. So like I know I've seen people in situations where they feel so depleted, they don't feel empowered at all. So I feel like just those small things would make you feel a little bit more empowered each time, okay, right. I did this one thing that I could do, even though they're telling me I can't do anything, and I'm worthless or whatever. Like I did this thing, I could be ready. That's one little step I took, that's great. I love the idea of a safety plan to when you feel like you can't do anything.
Right. Even when someone calls your phone, like a friend, hey, this is going on. Are you safe? Are you safe right now for us to talk? Like, that's the first thing I ask. Are you safe? What does the safe look like for you? Are you in your car? Are you somewhere safe in the store? Like, what does that look like? So always, checking in, like assessing their level of safety. And also knowing that unsafe for me may be someone like yelling, right? Or my abuser coming home drunk. But safety for Bree may look like her abuser sleeping on the couch because at least she can watch him and knows where he's at. So know that everybody's safety level is different. Know that everybody's safety plan will look different based off of her or his need.
Really quick, because we're running out of time.
Yes.
What are tips? Because not every advocate is a good advocate, I've learned. What are tips that people can make sure that they're being advocated for and they're getting their needs met?
Tips.
You can just give like two or however many.
I would say my biggest tip is I work in Seattle, South King County. So I run into a lot of people I know, right, that I want to receive services. So I always say, hey, I know you may know me, but if you don't want to work with me, I can refer you to someone else. And if they do want to work with me, know that when I see you, I won't share your story. So trusting, if you're not vibing with someone, hey, trust your gut. Confidentiality. If this person doesn't seem like she or he will keep your stuff confidential. Look to sometimes outside your community for resources. So partnering, having allies, knowing that We in Washington have great laws. We have a great DV network where, you can call the 1-800 DV number. You can look online. The Washington State Coalition Against DV has a website, and a lot of the DV pages you can actually go on, and then there's an escape button. So it'll go, like if you're in the room and you're Googling stuff, you can hit escape and it'll go sometimes a generic Google page will pop up. So having backup resources, like I said, looking outside your community for resources.
Sorry to cut you off, Jatana. We have reached our time. We thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you guys learned as much as we have. Jatana, it is always a pleasure. You always come in with it. You know your stuff, and we appreciate you for taking the time out to come and talk with our audience. Up next is Traffic Jam, and don't forget to check out Rainier Beach versus Seattle Prep this Saturday.
Thank you.
Bye.